Oh man. Shalom, shalom, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. What's up, baby? How y'all doing? It's Shilo. Welcome back to Reading with Shilo. Welcome to all the new subscribers. Welcome back to all the old ones, man. We're here with another reading session. We're ready to get it in. The next two chapters in The Art of Conversation by Stephen Hantz. And we are, or Stephen Hantz, I'm not sure. We're on chapter 7, Courtesy and Respect. Courtesy and Respect. So we're going to read chapter 7 and chapter 8, Keeping Conversation Light and the Power of Laughter. Courtesy and Respect, chapter 7 and chapter 8, Keeping Conversation Light and the Power of Laughter. We are over halfway done with the book. We are over halfway done with the book for those who are watching and listening along. The book has 11 chapters. We're on chapter 7. We're moving right along, moving right along. But, all righty. Let me get my stuff together. People, write something to write with. For definitions, markers. We ready to go. Art of Conversation by Stephen Hantz, chapter 7. Courtesy and Respect. Establishing relationships with people is one thing, but keeping those relationships is another task entirely. To grow relationships, a person needs to know how to treat others with courtesy, kindness, and respect. This includes always preserving their dignity and honoring other people's boundaries. Most people have physical boundaries, which are understood rather than stated, but some have emotional boundaries. Not everyone likes to discuss personal information, and those boundaries should be respected. As in every situation, people should remember that empathy is king in social interactions. Thinking about another person's feelings before reacting is a sure recipe for being kind and courteous. When a person is empathetic, it can be easy to build bridges with others who may not seem to have obvious similarities. Once the bridge is built, the person can then proceed to start chipping away at any walls another person may have up to guard themselves or their information. This process should always be done slowly and respectfully. Finally, not everyone is perfect, and sometimes people will hurt the feelings of others. No one should be discouraged by this. However, learning to forgive and move on from difficult situations can further solidify a relationship. This chapter discusses how courtesy can positively affect an interaction and provides a few ways for a person to ensure they are being courteous. It examines the different types of boundaries and how to recognize when a person's boundaries are being challenged. It looks at empathy as a way to build relationships and establish common ground from which to start a conversation. Finally, this chapter looks at breaking through barriers to get to know someone and why it is important to forgive people and move on. How to treat others. How to treat others. People say you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar for a reason. It is easier to make social advances when you are courteous to someone than when you are grumpy and rude because the former demonstrates respect. When strangers act with courtesy, smile at others, or do someone a favor, it often evokes a positive reaction from the other person. These acts can make a person feel appreciated, respected, and valued. All things people that make people happy. All things people that make people happy. It don't sound right. On the other hand, if a stranger is rude to someone, grimaces at them, or refuses to help them, this can elicit a negative response from the other person. This is because the stranger is neglecting basic common courtesy and may even seem as if they are going out of their way to be rude. People respond positively to politeness and etiquette because they are typically raised to respect people with good manners. It shows compassion towards others, which is a basic building block of any functioning society. Acting with compassion can demonstrate trustworthiness and encourage people to want to interact with someone. Etiquette shows that other the other person Etiquette shows the other person they will not be dominated in their interaction, and their conversation partner is aware of how to be polite when someone is expressing their ideas. The key to being courteous is to always remember the most important thing in any interaction is to preserve the dignity of both parties. Manners mean having the sense not to embarrass someone needlessly or start a conflict in an inappropriate environment. Although it can be easy to get caught up in emotions, people should always try to wait until they do not feel emotional about an issue to bring it up to someone else. This will make sure they do not approach the problem in a way that they might regret later, such as yelling at coworkers in the office. Another aspect of being courteous to the conversational partner is respecting their boundaries. All interactions have both verbal and nonverbal boundaries that a person should be aware of and respect. One way to keep tabs on the physical boundaries in any interaction is to remember the communication theory terms proxemics. Proxemics. Let's look it up. See if it has a definition. Termed proxemics. Proxemics. Let's see if it's in there. Proxemics. Prox. Prox. Proximate. It's not in this one. Proxemics. Proxemics. Uh, the study of the nature, degree, and effect of the spatial separation individuals naturally maintain as in various social and interpersonal situations, and of how this separation relates to the environmental and cultural factors. Proxemic. Proxemics is a noun, plural, but singular or plural in, I guess, construction. Proxemics. 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 Proxemics is a theory that states the distance a person stands from the other person in the Conversation is directly related to the intimacy level of both the conversation and the two parties. The more personal a conversation is, the closer someone is likely to stand to their friend. The less personal the conversation is, the more space there will be. This relates to how well the two people know one another. If two strangers were having a conversation, it would be unlikely they'd be standing close enough to touch one another, just as if a student was talking to a teacher in the classroom. If two good friends were speaking to one another, however, they would likely stand close together. Boundaries can be emotional or mental. Some people are more open with others in general, and other people prefer to keep their personal information private. Usually, people will use body language or nonverbal cues to signal whether they are willing to discuss personal information with someone. When a personal subject is brought up, if the person begins to show closed body language, they are probably not comfortable discussing the topic, and the speaker may be approaching a boundary. Some people may even directly tell the person they are crossing a boundary. In both situations, the speaker must recognize they are making the other person uncomfortable, apologize, and change the subject to something more acceptable. Some people may put up boundaries that seem unnecessary or aggressive. It can be off putting to feel like someone is initially unapproachable, but this is a great opportunity to use empathy to get someone to open up. Sometimes people establish boundaries to avoid talking about something difficult or painful for them. So, understanding why the boundary exists is the first step to helping the person adjust it. For example, if a person cautiously asked how someone was liking the weather and they responded with a snide comment, this could be a sign that this person has very strict boundaries and probably does not want to interact with anyone. If someone were to consistently show compassion to this person, however, they might eventually be willing to participate in small talk and eventually a full conversation. Like Urkel and Laura talking about, I'm wearing you down. I'm wearing you down. Understanding that such anger may be coming from within and not being directed at anyone in particular can help the person persist despite the negative feedback. Providing an understanding environment through empathy is a great way to make people feel at ease. When someone feels understood, they are often more likely to share their problem with someone else because they know they will be not judged or they know they will not be judged. Excuse me. This can be a lengthy process, however. Trust is not developed overnight. People must be ready to have a constant empathetic mindset and continue showing others they are willing to talk if the other person desires. This unrelenting empathy helps to dissolve boundaries and forge meaningful relationships. When a person is courteous, respects boundaries, and acts empathetically, they can open a plethora of conversation doors for themselves. These qualities are what help ease the initial tension of new interactions and can even promote interaction beyond the initial conversation. Every person wants to be respected and have their boundaries respected and acknowledged as well. In addition, people generally treat others with courtesy and expect the same in return. If someone can master doing this while being sympathetic to the other person's point of view, it will likely be easy to start conversations with anyone. How to build relationships. How to build relationships. Beyond empathy and courtesy, there are many ways to foster a connection with other people and building relationships. One way is to focus on positive sentiments and work towards compromises instead of embarrassing conflict, instead of embracing conflict. People generally respond well to a positive disposition because it can be a helpful way to dispel stress and distract from other problems in their lives. Working toward compromise shows a willingness to collaborate and focus on outcomes that are beneficial for everyone. This can signal selfishness and kindness to others. selflessness. This can signal selflessness and kindness to others. Including everyone in the group conversation is another way to demonstrate kindness and can keep cliques from building from forming within a group. Including everyone is a way to build collaboration and loop in more people who can help in reaching compromises. Another way to demonstrate selflessness is by trying to understand the other person before offering comments. Considering an issue from the other person's perspective is not only respectful, but also allows a person to consider more options for compromise if the discussion needs a resolution. When a person allows the speaker to voice their opinions first, they may be able to clear up a question before having to voice it at all. Yeah, I learned that along. Well, that even when reading, it's the same thing sometimes. Like a question will pop up and just read a little bit more, the answer will be right there. Like I was wondering what proxemics was. And even though I looked it up, it was right there. Next paragraph. Another important factor is keeping information private after the conversation has finished, especially when someone shares personal information in a conversation. It is typically in bad taste to share that information with others. When people are vulnerable, there is an established trust between the parties that the information will not go further than their conversation. Breaching this trust usually results in people not wanting to open up to that person anymore. Some people rebel against even the most polite attempts to social build bridges, though. They may hide behind one word answers in brief conversations to keep conversations and interactions at bay. At this point, a person should be able to notice closed body language and recognize the driving force behind it. Despite how aloof a person may seem, there are ways to break down conversational walls and get to the heart of such a person. One way is to ask follow up questions to keep the person talking. The more they speak, the more they will likely become comfortable with the conversation. Even if the question only warrants one word answers, it can still be helpful for the person to interact at any level. The more they speak, the more they will be able to realize that whatever negativity they might have expected is not going to occur, which will reassure them as they continue. When attempting to break down barriers, it is crucial that a person take off their social mask and presents their true self. Being vulnerable with others encourages them to be vulnerable with us, and it can serve as an olive branch in a difficult interaction. Really knowing a person encourages someone to expose their true selves as well. Not everyone will adhere to the social rules of interaction and conversation, though. And sometimes this can lead to a person having their feelings hurt or becoming upset with the offender. To create a truly meaningful relationship, a person must be able to forgive someone for missteps, intentional or not, and move on from them. No one is perfect, and most people do not intentionally offend other people, another people. If someone is having trouble forgiving another person, they can try to be empathetic and imagine how the other person may be feeling. This is usually enough for someone to understand why the person said what they did and how they might have been feeling guilty or regretful. Part of forgiving someone is being merciful. If they seem to regret the offense but are not reaching out to clear the air, it can be a good idea for someone to reach out with forgiveness before the other person offers an apology. Sometimes being the bigger person is the best way to move on from hurtful situations. And finally, the most important part of forgiveness is forgetting. Don't let the offense linger after forgiving someone. People need to know that when they are forgiven, there will no longer be persecuted or judged for the offense. This is the integral step for both parties to move on. And that was the end of chapter 7. That's chapter 7, courtesy and respect. Courtesy and respect. Chapter 8, keeping conversation light and the power of laughter. Keeping conversation light and the power of laughter. Chapter 8. Even though someone might want to have a deep conversation with another person, it is typically best practice to keep things light at first. Starting with small talk about a simple subject and working up to more personal topics can be an easy way to interact with new people and get them to trust you. Keeping the conversation light and casual lowers the odds of that person may offend someone with an off the cuff comment or joke. Additionally, people should remember to see the good in others. I think that's a big one right there. Damn, choke myself. Whew, I still think that's a big one. Whew, whew, Let me mark that. Additionally, ooh, people should remember to see the good in others. Man, who would have got me? Additionally, additionally, there we go. Additionally, people should remember to see the good in others. It can be easy to immediately notice the negative qualities in someone and use that to form an opinion. If someone can take a moment to notice the positive qualities, though, it can make the conversation much more productive. It can also help a person to see the good in themselves. When someone is interacting with a new social group, they can benefit from keeping an open mind and allowing the other person to express their opinions. Sometimes people are met with ideas that are very different from their own, and remaining open can be a challenge. It can be helpful to remember that the goal of a conversation is not to start an argument, but to collaborate with others and share ideas. The key to not responding negatively to new ideas is to keep the emotions in check. Stand present in the conversation and not be afraid to leave your comfort zone. People can even help, People can even call attention to their own shortcomings as a lighthearted way to jump into conversation. Self deprecating humor, when executed properly, can boost a person's self esteem and confidence. It shows others they are not too concerned with their own image to have a little fun. This chapter discusses why people should try to keep conversations light and fun when initiating interactions, especially with strangers. We look at how people can take a step back to find the good in others, as well as how they can positively contribute to the conversation and the group. It explains why people should remain open minded when confronted with new ideas and how self deprecating humor can help create a light environment. Keep it light. Practicing in small talk and starting a new conversation both depend on a certain lightheartedness from both parties to keep the mood positive. If someone dives into a heavy subject, it can kill the mood right away. Inversely, keeping things too light can sometimes lead to people thinking someone is not capable of a serious discussion. There is delicate middle ground, people. There is a delicate middle ground. People must be able to tread to start quality conversations. One important point to remember is that most people are inherently critical of themselves, some more than others. When trying to start a conversation with a new person, you should not rely on opportunities to poke fun at the person as an opener. Someone may accidentally call out a quality the other person is sensitive to and does not want other people to notice. This can make them upset before the conversation even begins and not want to engage socially. This is not saying someone should not be offended when another person makes a passing joke at their expense. It is okay to feel upset when someone uses you as a conversational fodder. But the trick is keeping the conversation going is not letting it bother you in the moment. Laughing at yourself so the conversation can continue it does not become awkward for the other members. Later, a person can address the offense privately with the offender so that they can explain the comment was not appreciated and ask them not to repeat it. When approaching a new group, the best bet in starting a conversation is to pick a light topic that everyone can discuss. This can include the common experience, the weather. Us Brits love talking about the weather, the commute to work, or anything else that everyone is sure to have an opinion about. Asking about something common gives everyone a chance to participate and feel included. It keeps conversations light because no one will want to stray from a conversation that includes the whole group. Another way to approach a lighthearted conversation is to ask the other persons about themselves. This gives the person the opportunity to decide the topic and tone of the conversation, which ensures their comfort. If walking up to someone and asking what their favorite color is seems strange, try using context to pick a good introduction. For example, if someone is drinking a coffee, you could ask them if it is a light or dark roast, and then offer your favorite type of coffee. This simple conversation starter could easily lead to an in depth examination of both parties' coffee preferences. Keeping conversation light like this opens the door to further conversation down the road. Starting off simple increases a person's chances that someone will not judge them negatively from the get go. Although most people are wired to see the negative qualities in someone more quickly than the positives, it can be helpful to look for the good qualities in someone because it makes a person feel safer in their environment. Instead of drawing conclusions or making assumptions, a person should take more time to notice the good qualities in someone instead of racing to form a negative view and of them based on a general impression. If someone steps back and considers the person as a whole, they can usually find a number of positive character traits. Making a point to notice people's desirable qualities can some ways to get someone's brain trained to see the same qualities in themselves. Part of seeing the good in others is acknowledging it in yourself first. When people take time to discern what qualities they have that benefit others and decide to work on the qualities that don't, they are practicing discerning between negative and positive actions. This can translate to others as well and make the process of appreciating someone much easier. Looking for the good in others can help create a sense of community in a group and help people overcome their differences and work together. Many people are influenced by their environment and other people around them. If they see other people doing nice things, this can make them want to do nice things as well. Passing along this kindness promotes compromise and collaboration, which can be a great foundation for a cohesive group. These good deeds might even eventually create a chain of kindness that builds interactions and relationships beyond the initial personal group. The more good deeds a person does, the better sense of their own morality they have. Most people strive to be good people. They go out of their way to help others when they have the opportunity, and they actively try to make others feel happy and accepted. Sometimes, though, it can be difficult for a person to measure their own understanding of moral and immoral acts. If someone is constantly striving to be a model for others, they will likely be able to identify that their good deeds are good feeling or and good feelings correlate. This reinforces the idea that acting with compassion is moral and can benefit everyone involved. Part of treating everyone with kindness may be meeting new people along the way. Meeting new people means being exposed to new ideas and opinions. When someone has ideas or opinions that don't match another person's, they should always approach the conversation with an open mind and do their best not to judge the other person. Part of interacting with new people is getting to know their viewpoint and background to better understand their perspective. Once a person understands someone's perspective, then they can lead the conversation into a respectful debate if they wish, or simply treat the interaction as a learning experience. People can learn a great deal by discussing problems or topics with someone who has a different viewpoint than they do. It can teach people to consider the opposite side of the argument and, in some cases, strengthen their beliefs. Some situations can cause a change of heart when someone considers the opposing side of the issue, but others serve as proof as to why someone believes what they do. The most important step in learning from others is from other people's perspective is to remember that an opinion is not correct just because someone has always held it. Remaining open to change and changing their mind can be the difference between learning and being abstinent. When a person is met with an opinion radically different from their own, it can be difficult to remain open minded and hear the person out if they don't know any techniques with which to regulate themselves. The first step is to refrain from reacting emotionally. Some people are driven by emotion when it comes to hot button issues, but this is not a good way to establish differences. People should take a moment and think through how they would like to present their opposing opinion before letting their emotions take control. In addition, people should remember it is not helpful to simply shut down when someone expresses the difficult opinion. If a person is unwilling to even acknowledge someone else's opinion, they will never be able to learn from it and may even create a conflict. Don't be afraid to laugh. Don't be afraid to laugh. Not everyone is confident, and not everyone is sure whether they should point out their flaws or try to make sure no one notices. Despite what most people may think, making certain types of jokes at your expense can signal confidence and self assurance. They show that a person is secure enough that with their shortcomings to put them on display for others. This confidence shows they can point out a mistake or quirk and laugh along with the group of themselves. There's a specific way people can actually use self self deprecating self-deprecating humor. Let's see if I'm saying that correctly. Let's see. Uh, DEPR. Yeah, DEPRECATING. Depracting. Depracting. Depract, depracting, depracting. Depreciate. It's not in that one. Let's check that one. Deprecate, deprecate, deprecating. Deprecating of to pray against as an evil, to seek to avert, express this disapproval. I mean, to seek to avert, to express disapproval, to play down, make light of. Self-deprecating. I guess is the to play down, to make light of, deprecating. There is a specific way people can actually use self-deprecating humor to build their own self-esteem. It is all about positive self-talk. The key is to phrase the jokes in a particular way so that the person is complimenting themselves and the joke is in their tone of voice. This tactic is effective because people's brains don't necessarily pick up on the tone of how we say things, just the fact that we said them. For example, if Claire says, I could win the gold medal at running into doors with a sarcastic tone, her group of friends will probably laugh at the joke. All her brain registers, however, was that she was ex- ex- excelling in an activity. Self self deprecating humor can be to someone a good way for someone to relate to others who might be intimidated by their status or title. Making jokes at their own expense can show people that they do not think too highly of themselves and are willing to fit into the groups. It can be refreshing for employees to see their bosses in casual settings and not be so intimidated by their authority that they are unsure of how to speak to them. Acknowledging flaws can reassure people that someone is still a regular person despite their status or job title. It can make the power, it can make, It can show that the power hasn't gone to a person's head. Making jokes at their own expense demonstrates they are not overly concerned with keeping up an authoritative image and persona. This quickly puts other people at ease and encourages normal conversation, taking things lightly, seeing the good in people, being open to ideas, and laughing at yourself can all be helpful skills in the dating world too. These tactics can get a person through the first few awkward dates with a new person without it being too painful. Sometimes going on a blind date can be especially awkward. The two people have never met and are not sure if they have any common interests or have and have no idea what the other person's emotional or physical boundaries might be. The above mentioned tactics can help smooth over the rough start by opening an easy conversation and keeping the humor consistent to ease tension. If someone can also manage to be open minded, then the other person will probably be encouraged to speak more and keep the conversation moving. Asking open ended questions can keep the conversation flowing with both when both people are nervous to speak. It encourages people to build off one another and can be a more natural way to develop conversations. It allows the person to decide how much they want to contribute to the conversation and establishes their boundaries if needed. Where yes and no questions can keep uh, a conversation terse and short. Open ended questions are full of possibilities and options for both parties, especially if the subject is something they are mutually interested in. When both parties are interested in the topic, it generates an excitement that can drive conversations for hours. It is a great way to ensure both people have something to contribute. It may take some prodding around to find the right topic to spark excitement, but once it is found, speaking becomes much easier. Using conversational skills on dates demonstrates social aptitude and has the potential to impress others. That was chapter 8. Um, Chapter 8 of The Art of Conversation by Stephen or Stephen Hawks. Keeping conversations light and the power of laughter. Keeping conversations light and the power of laughter. Man, we are moving right along. We are moving right along through this one. No, it's not that long. I don't know, man. We might see. We might see. I might read 9, 10, and 11 the next, and that'll be it. Page 89 to page 114. We'll see, man. I might have to try to mash through that next time and go ahead and finish the book. And then we can move on to the next book, and I'll put another notch on the back of my bookmark. I gotta burn it in there though. Burn it in there. The Art of Conversation. The next book that I'll read is Conflict Resolution by oh man, hold up. The next book will be the Conflict Resolution Playbook book. Practical communication skills for preventing, managing, and resolution conflict. by Jeremy Pollack. Excuse me. He talks about empathy in here too. Yeah. Mm. So this one does have chapters. Creative problem solving. It has 22 chapters. 22 chapters in this one. But we'll see what we can learn and grow from it. All the same. Try to get in and get out of it. Get in and get out. But until next time, man, we'll come back with with the last chapters of The Art of Conversation by Stephen Hawks. The last couple of chapters. 3 chapters left. 9, 10, and 11 are the last chapters. We'll be done with this book. We move through this pretty fast. Move through that. Let me see what we got. We only got we only got that much left. Ooh, sliding on. Ooh, I feel like I'm picking up speed reading. Feel like I'm picking up some speed, which is a good thing. A good thing. I need to pick up some speed so I can read better. Not just speed, but comprehend better, read better, pronunciate better, hear it better, piece it together better. What I be reading, I be trying to listen to myself read how I sound. Man. I say I came a long way reading better. I still be hard on myself sometimes when I make misspeaks or read over a word too fast and think it's another word and it's not. But practice make perfect. The more you read, the more you could push things out, the more you could cross those hurdles. But we'll keep learning and growing and pushing and practicing, man. Trying to apply these things to our lives, whatever we see fit that might fit our lives. Who knows? But till next time, man, I hope y'all have a wonderful night. I hope y'all enjoyed the reading. Hopefully, I'll see y'all back next session of Reading with Shilo for chapters 9, 10, and 11 of The Art of Conversation by Stephen Hawks, or Stephen Hawks. Till next time, shalom. Shalom out.